The number one thing, and I need this before we get started, I need this from you. What makes an online class? And this is why we're here today. What makes a good online class? I need the chat to tell me. I need you, as I look out into the audience right now. That's my fellow educators. What makes an online class? I see nothing in the chat yet. Engagement right there. Noeling knows exactly. It has to be engaging. It has to be interacting. You got it right there. Participation. We need people talking. Just put anything in the chat right there. Instructor presence. The instructor has to be present, has to be engaging. Something I do at all points. And we just did a survey with TEE. Shout outs to Adam Breimer right there. We just did a survey, and one of the things the students said, and I want to communicate this to you, is they said a lot of times in their online classes, the instructors aren't reading the chat. They're not seeing the questions. And I think sometimes for a student, and this is one thing I wanted to start with that I've learned, is as soon as a student sees that their questions aren't noticed, what do you think students do? Like as soon as students realize I put a question in the chat, doesn't get noticed. Maybe at the end, maybe they've went off and they've started cleaning the house or something, but their question didn't get noticed. So what do you think happens to that student? What do you think happens? What do you think happens through this process when we don't engage them and get them interacting with the class? They disconnect, they turn off. So our goal today, we're going to start up the lecture here. Our goal today, and I've got some fun surprises at the end. I'll keep the fun surprises for the end at the end here. Our goal today, head over here to the main screen. Our goal today, and I might disappear at times, we looked a little magic disappearing, is to talk about leveling your online interaction with gamification. We don't want our students to be disengaged. We want our students interacting with us and being part of the conversation. So that is something I ask of you today. I ask of you today, if you have questions at any point, ask it. There, no, William right there, or Dr. Noling, please, if you prefer, please let me know. I am 100% using OBS. And if you want to see, I won't get into this quite. We got more to come later on. If you want to see the world behind my world, here is the world I live in. This is my OBS. Let's just say Brian likes to create. I can go into more detail on that at another time, and we'll have more detail to come later on talking about that. Rock on. I use it to, oh, that's so awesome, William. More info to come on that at the end of this for a preview of what's to come. But today our focus is talking about what is the word of the day? You know the word of the day, and it's not Pokemon Go. The word of the day of this lecture is what? Our main primary focus is to learn more about what? Our main primary focus is to figure out ways to what our classes. If you want, you don't have to do it all. Gamification right there, perfect answer. Improve, and I think gamification is a great way to improve. We have a terminology in video games called leveling up. Oh, I play too many video games. It's a problem. But before we talk about how we do gamification, we have to understand why we do gamification. Why would we do gamification? I must say, my background is in psychology. My undergraduate at UT was psychology. Shout out to UT Psychology Department, Dr. Lowell Gertner, all the great people over there. But with that said, Sigmund Freud is kind of the past. So don't worry, we've kind of went beyond his understandings. But we need to find ways to have our students learn. Has anyone ever heard these terminologies right here? They're a little bit interesting, where you see things like negative rewards, negative punishment, positive rewards, positive punishment, going over what these are and what these mean and how we utilize them. So when you think about a negative reward, reward simply means makes you happy. Punishment simply means makes you sad. Negative means taking it away. Positive means giving it. So when we think about putting that together, we get negative reward means taking away something to make you happy. So if you think about crossing assignments off for your students, I think that's a way of, hey, I sometimes give them negative rewards where I say, okay, well, maybe I'm going to drop one more assignment. So then they don't have to do that. That's a negative reward. I say, we've had a lot of assignments. I think everyone's keeping up well. And if you've been keeping up well, you don't have to do this assignment. I'm adding one more drop in. So that's an example of how to give students negative rewards. You take away something and it's a reward to make them happy. Negative punishment. I've never done this, but it is a terminology. You got a gold star on a student's paper and you say, great job. So what's a negative punishment? If you have a negative punishment, I would not do this. Brian does not endorse negative punishments of students. You'll see what I do and do not endorse here when it comes to the psychology behind how we teach and how we learn. A negative punishment would be what to that gold star? Just think about what's going to happen. You're gonna walk over to the paper and what? You say, oh, you got a gold star? Negative punishment. What happens right there? What are you going to do to that gold star on their paper? I do not endorse negative punishments. You're going to pull it off. You're going to be like, give me back that gold star. I don't endorse that. I endorse putting those stars on their paper. Rip it off. I do not endorse these teaching tactics. So with that said, I prefer positive rewards. Now, this is the most interesting experience I've ever had. And we are talking today about online education, but I have taught some in person. It's actually what I started doing. And then I started teaching online in about 2015. With teaching in person, one of the most excited ways I got students, or one of the best ways I brought about excitement to students, was literally buying stickers on Amazon and telling them at the first page of your notebook, if you made it 100 on the assignments for this week, come to class and I'll put a sticker on your notebook. And all I would do is I kind of did it by the honor system and would just let them track it visually, because at the end of the semester I could just look at the grade book to see who got the hundreds. Is I said, if you get the hundreds, I think I said I'll put a point on your grade at the end of the semester. So beyond just learning the material, you also know you're getting points. So literally the stars on their paper. I had a student, and this is when the pandemic hit. They were like, can I still get my stars? And I was like, well, we went online and I'm not really seeing students. They're like, but I want my stars. And I was like, they really loved those stars. Like they they want that sticker. It's just a sticker. It's like a 10th of a cent sticker. They really wanted that. They were so excited just to get a sticker on their paper. And that showed me how much just that little bit of encouragement, that visual reward really brings about excitement. So what did I do with my online classes? When I give extra credit, what do you see with the extra credit? When I give extra credit in my online classes, what do you see? Remember how the sticker is that, ooh, sticker. It's like, whoa. So I'll give extra credit again. So you're getting extra credit right now. I'm pressing the extra credit button. Oh man, so much extra credit. Let's just press every button. Oh, pressing every button. There's tons of extra credit on the screen right there. What do you see? What is good to enforce a reward with? So like when you give a reward, recognition, that sheet of paper, it says you got this awards. It's not a sheet of paper, you see right there. You need some sort of stimulus more than good job. I mean, you know, good job is fine, but when we put some sort of visualization with it, when we put some sort of sound, you're stimulating your ears. I think, are these sounds translating through to to Zoom? They are coming through. Can you hear the sounds? The happy, joyful glitter sounds. The visual, yes, good, everything's working perfect then. So you see the extra credit, you know you got it mentally, and you also hear the extra credit. Those stimulations right there are really going to get people excited and be like, yes, extra credit. We'll talk more about how to give it out here in a moment, but you need these positive things that are going to be shown to you. So think about ways right now that when you give extra credit, it's more than just a good job. I mean, even, you know, think of that as some sort of stimulus too. Now, the last thing right here is positive punishment. Positive punishment would be an example of what was Brian trying to find visually right there? How could I positively punish students? I could do what to their work? Like negative rewards, positive punishments. They're almost contradictory of each other right there. So a positive punishment would be what? Which I do not endorse. I do not endorse. You're not endorsing that. I prefer to go the reward route. I think it's enough way of doing it. I would say positive punishment. Let me give it a second right here. I always love. As soon as you start answering questions for your students, they stop answering questions. I have to reinforce I have to reinforce here even piling on the assignments. William, you get extra credit for the whole class right here. We're going to press the extra credit button. Thank you so much right there. That is a great answer. And I really don't think that's a great way. Like, it's not really going to help them. A lot of times you lose. A lot of times we run into problems where students feel hopeless. So you always want to give them an avenue towards success. If a student has a mental plan of how they can be successful in their class, if they can see the route to success, they're more likely to travel down that route. As soon as they feel that they're stuck, they just give up, or they're likely to give up, I should say. I hope they don't give up, and we want to reach out to them. So you never want to pile on the work. Someone's just going to say, I'm done, can't do it. And especially you always want to look at your class as a whole and then students as individuals. That's the The fun of being a teacher. So one of the ways I like to start my semester is with little FOMO. If you don't know, fear of missing out is often abbreviated as FOMO. But with this, I don't try to make the beginning of the semester too hard. But if we start class on a Wednesday, my first assignment is due on a Sunday. If we start class on a Wednesday, my first assignment is due on a Sunday. On the first day of class, I teach material. And I don't make the first assignment hard. But what does the first day of class do for students? It sets the what's for the class. And I always, oh gosh, I told my wife, I was so freaked out because it sets the tone, it sets the pace, sets the expectations. I said to her, and today's our kind of 6-month anniversary, so shouts to my wife. She's gonna make a cameo right there. So it sets the tones, it sets the expectations. And I told her one time, I said, I totally messed up. I had the worst first day. She's like, it's gonna be okay. And I said, no, it's a first day. They're very important to me. They're very important that we set, a good pace for our students. We let them know what the class is gonna be like. We tell them, here's what to expect. Here's the workload. I'm gonna give you assignments each week. But here's the thing also, I'm gonna help you. So one of the things I have my students do is I have them sign up for Discord nowadays. And it takes probably 5 to 10 minutes to sign up to Discord. Giving them a small task, something to just put in their mind. And this is extra credit, actually. There's another assignment they have, but they get these extra credits right here that are just very quick, very easy. But this right here, signing up to Discord, is so important because it is one of the primary ways I communicate with my students. So I tell them, I'll give you maybe 5 points on the first assignment. So the first assignment's due Sunday, but you can get 5 points if you sign up to Discord. And you have until Sunday to sign up to Discord. Do you know what happens? I look at Discord later that day, and tons of people are signing up. And also people are emailing me and saying, here's my problems. Because we create a little fear of missing out. Now, I don't want to scare students. I want to give them help. But I want to give you a little FOMO right now. Here we go. Let's bring up what it feels like. Okay. So I don't think we have enough excitement right here yet. I need answers to what is one way that you get your students engaged. But you know what? No one's answering yet. So you know what we need to do? Let's add a little more elements to this. Let's add a little music, little stimulus right here. Okay. No one's answering yet, so we need a little more stimulus right here. Let's add in a timer. Uh-oh. Here we go. What is one way you get your students engaged? The clock is ticking. Oh no. We're gonna have no answers. Polling. Polling's a great way. Polling's a great way. We're polling the audience right now. Intros. Ooh, I love intros. We'll do an intro at the end for some fun to end the lecture. Intros. That is awesome. That is really great. Oh no. 10 seconds. Running out of time. I think it skipped 8. Polling and intros are great ways to get your students engaged. Time is up. Here we go. Puzzling questions. I like that right there. Puzzling questions are awesome. Here we go. Oh, I was going to lower the sound. I just turned it off. Let them ooh. William just got those fire answers right there. William, thank you so much for all those great answers. Everyone's some great answers right there. But you'll see at the end, that is also part of what I'm saying here. I get distracted by all the stuff that was going on around me. Oh, no. I will say I've been told I'm very ADD, and that is true. I like to say I'm patient zero. They said I was like the way they found ADD. They said something's going on with this child. That's when they came up with ADD, early 80s. So this right here, I'm very much a lot of stimulus, and I do want to put this out there. I have had students say to me that there's too much stimulus in the class. And so sometimes I tell them, don't use the chat, and I come up with ways designed around their learning to give them extra credit. So it's something, as we said previously, we think of the class as a whole, but then we think of students as individuals. So when I've had students say to me, the chat's too distracting, I say to them something like, if you email me that you were in class after class, just send me a quick email. I showed up to class today. I'll recognize that as you were in class, and then I will mark it down, and I'll make sure you get the full extra credit for the semester for all the participation bonus. And that way you don't have to look at chat. So sometimes finding ways to alter the learning towards someone's learning style is very important. Not just sometimes, but we really should keep that in perspective. A lot of what I'm saying right here generalizes to a lot of individuals, but doesn't work for everybody. I just noticed today's the 25th. So, so with that right there, keep that in perspective. It's not about every student learning the same. These are things I generally do for most of my students. So now we're to the big question. Now that we understand that we need some sort of stimulus, we need some sort of recognition, how do we go about creating this? And I think there's no better examples of stimulus and rewards, and it's kind of tough to say this, but then mobile games. Does anyone here play any mobile game? Maybe it's Candy Crush. I might say that here in a moment. Maybe it's Pokemon Go, like me. Maybe it's, you can actually see the Pokemon Go thing down there at the very bottom. Does anyone play any of those games? Maybe we'll get some shout outs to some games here in a second. But when it comes to games, Wordle, oh yeah. How do you feel when you get, have you ever gotten like the Wordle in one try or two tries? One try just means you're super lucky. Two tries means Pokemon Go. Oh, Ennis, did we get, oh, it's so good to see you here, Dr. Roselle. Hey, oh, so good seeing everyone. When you get a Wordle in like 2 or 3 tries, you're like, yes, or you get it on that 6th try and you're like, you say to your friends, I got the Wordle. You got that Wordle team of friends. I've seen it with my friends right there who do Wordles. Pokemon Go. Everyone's playing Pokemon Go. I should drop my Pokemon Go. Gardenscapes, I should see what that is. That sounds like Farmville. I should see what that is. How do you feel when you level up in Pokemon Go? How do you feel when you get that? It flashes on the screen. I should have downloaded an animation of what a level up looks like. The whole screen flashes and a number swirls on the screen, and you get items, you get things. Ooh, we got frame. Oh, nice jar there. It feels great. You get that visual. It makes a sound. You feel like you earned something. You get those sort of things, and that is what you need in your class. When you think about gamification, you need to stimulate as many senses as possible. You need to make sure that you could literally bake a cake. You can have a pizza party. So you say, well, Brian, how do we make people taste things? You say, we did so great, the class, and usually I like to do class rewards, more about that later on. I like to reward the whole class. That way we're a team. I'll talk more about that near the end. But I think of us as a team. We actually call our Discord Stat Nation, and we talk about, as we say, vol means all, and vols help vol, so vols help all. So we have, sayings we like to talk about a lot that are us being a team and working together and helping each other. More about how I give out points, and you'll notice that's the theme of it. So in video games, and you've probably seen this, video games are all about leveling up. Does anyone know? I'm sure people know. Do you know from left to right the games? I'll be very happy if you know the game on the right. Such a beautiful game and one of my favorites. Puzzles matching, love it. Hand-eye coordination. We got here some Candy Crush with some matching. We got here some Pac-Man eating the little pellets right there, and then chasing after the ghosts, and exactly. So Pac-Man, Candy Crush, and this is Elden Ring. So really, really amazing, fun games. But when we play games, there's this element of leveling up. And how this goes to the psychology behind it again. When you play Candy Crush, has anyone played Candy Crush? How are the first few levels in Candy Crush? How are the first few levels in Candy Crush? Anyone play Candy Crush? You get to that first level and you're like, ooh, okay. Do the second level. Ooh, wow. Second level done. Helps you get the basics down, right? So when we think about gamification, the start of our class is the start of the game. Helps you get the basics down. So what's one of the basics of my class? One of the basics of my class is using Discord to communicate. That's like the intro. That's the tutorial right there. Welcome to the tutorial of Stat 201, using Discord. Welcome to the tutorial of using My Pearson. We use My Pearson. Here's a question that's like, click the bubble A. So their first assignment on My Pearson, which I have due on the Sunday, is like, to answer questions, select a box. And then they click it and it's like, great job. And it's like, you made 100 on an assignment by understanding how assignments work. I've done other things in the past, like emailing me. Frankly, I found that Discord cut my time in about half by using Discord to communicate. It's just way quicker. Emails, I email, they email back. Sometimes that takes like a couple hours, and I'm usually pretty quick. But Discord has cut my communication down, and last year I taught 2,000 students. So anything that optimizes my time with communications, I greatly value. So when we think about this, the very start of our class is the intro or tutorial level. We don't want to throw them at a boss immediately. You don't, I guess in Elden Ring, you can walk straight to the bosses, but that's where you lose hope. You say, I can't beat this game. This doesn't make sense to me. But what also doesn't make sense? What also doesn't help? And I want to talk about points next. Next slide is the what doesn't make sense. So when we do points in our class, especially with like Pokemon Go, what do you notice about the experience required to get to new levels in Pokemon Go? What do you notice from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4 to level 5 to level 6, level 7, level 8, level 9, level 10? What do you notice about it? It is exponential right there. It is exponential, and especially as you get to like level 40 or level 50, I should say. I think it's 30 million. 30 million. It gets crazy. So the psychology behind it is to give you those quick rewards at the start to build habits. When you think about things like going to the gym, everyone likes like I'm go to the gym. I'm every week I think I'm going to start working out again. I'm going to get in better shape. Well, I need to start working out and build that habit daily, and then I will create it. So they're trying to create a habit right here. So this is the actual point system. We'll get to meet Mubot here in a moment. This is the actual point system in my class. And when I was designing this, I designed it around the idea of Pokemon Go. So the actual point tiers in my class for how much extra credit you get, we have names to it. We got a lot of fun names later on, but you get to like Diamond tier, Legendary tier, Hall of Fame tier, Hero of Eternity, Gold tier, Silver tier, Bronze tier, Member. And the top students in my class actually have the option of naming a tier, and we put it between tiers. So they become part of our Stat Nation Hall of Fame history. So students are like, oh man, at the end of the semester, like, wait, can I name a level? And they get really excited because in later semesters, there's like Kayla level, there's Snail level, there's Shreya level, there's hamster tier level, there's pirate level. There's a whole bunch of levels later on, like secret levels that you get to, and they just get excited because they get to see this. Now, what I do here is, and we'll talk more about how I do it, requires certain things that you might not be doing, but I can tell you how to do it in your classes. That's what's important right here. Does anyone currently have like a point system or an extra credit system you use for your class? Who has a point or extra credit system they use for their class right now where like you get extra credit? I like to say you're leveling up, and they can actually check it. Like they can actually look and see that they're getting. What they do in our chat is they literally type !points, and then it tells them their level. And then I say to them, if you want, you can always message me and I will tell you your level. A few students have used that option. Like if you don't want it to display, you can always message me and I will tell you your level. So if you want, it'll tell you there, or I will tell you it, or at the end of the semester, it'll be calculated, but I will let you know. Does anyone use an extra credit system that kind of takes place over the course of the whole semester? No? Well, yeah. And if you want, this is basically what you want, and this is how to do it. You have to create it at the start of the semester. So you have to have this all laid out. Clickers and stats 1, exactly. Yep. And letting them know and letting them see their clicker percentages, exactly. And then letting them know if you do like 80% of clickers, you will get this bonus. If you get this percent of clickers right, you will get this bonus. Everything we do. So here's the sad part about this. I would not suggest implementing anything I suggest here today. Everything we are doing needs to be a start of the semester thing. You don't want to do a change to the process midway through and say, hey, we're instituting this bonus system. We'll say, what? Wait, what's the bonus system? Is this what wait, I'm confused. Because it's like you're entering in a tutorial level halfway through and you're like, wait, we were in the tutorial again? I thought we're at the midway point in this game. I thought I'm doing some mini bosses right now, some midterms. So we want to make sure these ideas are implemented at the start and then they're communicated efficiently. I do have students, I will say this, who are still very confused by my point system, but I explained to them very thoroughly that you get points in my class simply by chatting. So what do you think happens a lot in my class? The best way to get points is to chat, and actually my bot, who we'll meet here in a moment, forgets you if you don't chat every 15 minutes. So what do you think happens a lot in the classes? What do you think happens a lot that the bot forgets you? So the way the bot works is after 15 minutes, it says that that user is not active and then doesn't give them points. So the bot, what do you think happens? Since I say to them, if you don't chat every 15 minutes, the bot forgets you. They chat a whole bunch. They chat like crazy. We talk about fire chat. I'm like, I want everyone to answer this question. And it's just the cat goes, and I just sit back and I just look. And the thing I've realized with online education is if you put it does, and the thing is a lot of them are, if you think about the way they're doing social media right now, what is the number one social media phone thing that students are using? Good point right there, Michelle, right there. There is sometimes useless chatter, and I only reward the useful chatter. So I will try to deter from that. We do have a little bit of fun. We do make jokes, but I try to deter from, and I did have students who do type things like space. Like I'll have students who will just type, and it kind of brings me sadness. They'll type like that, and I'll be like, oh, they're just making sure the bot sees them. It's I would say I have about 5 to 10% useless chatter during a class. Students who I'll notice will just type a space or a period or something that the bot sees them. Hey, at least they're still in front of the computer, right? So that's why I'm like, well, at least they're just in front of their computer. They might have walked around the room, did some for 15 minutes. They don't want to be left out, exactly. But a lot of students these days are watching TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all this stuff right here. So a lot of them are watching a lot of creators who are, having live chats. So this is a very common thing nowadays to watch someone live on video and to be chatting. They're very used to the creator. And one of the best positive reinforcements, and I usually try to start every class with this, one of the best positive reinforcements to students is simply shout outs. To at the start of class, to say hey in the chat to them. And then they respond back and say, hey, so-and-so, hey, so-and-so, hey, so-and-so. Students really just like hearing their names called. And that's a great way, if I would tell you just one positive reinforcement to get that chat, to get that interaction, is to start by just saying your students' names. Just look to the chat and be like, good to see you, so-and-so, good to see you, so-and-so. How are you doing? What'd you think about that win we had last week? What's anyone's thoughts on that? Does anyone go to the game? I don't think it's a bad idea to start the first, I'd say, 1 to 5 minutes of class with just positivity. Get them in the right mindset, because then I get serious and then we start doing stats for a lot of class, and that's where it gets serious. So we usually start with some positivity. But when are students not learning? So once again, bringing it back to video games, I was thinking about my experiences and why we earn rewards over time, because it kind of goes to like the idea of winning the lottery. Winning the lottery is simply like a cheat code. You don't feel, it doesn't just work. When I was playing Mike Tyson's Punch out as a kid, even in foreign language, it's nice to start with simple questions chat, like, yeah, just to talk and have a good, like, hola, ¿qué pasó? Me gusta español mucho. Mucho años pasado estudié español. En universidad, sí, un poquito. ¿Cómo esté? Solo italiana. No sé italiana. Hay personas en el restaurante en Kingsport, yo hablo español con mis amigos. But I like speaking Spanish. I wish I spoke it more, and I've lost it. But with this right here, how do you feel when you conquer something? How do you feel when you get good at something? How do you feel when you've earned the rewards? And I think this is what we have to realize, is that our students have to feel like these rewards are earned. They need to feel like they accomplished something. It needs to be milestones. They need to feel as though they've gained something, that they've made progress. I feel great. Whenever I reach a milestone. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I wish I did. I feel great. But when I was playing Mike Tyson as a kid and I couldn't beat him, I found out there's ways to cheat. Do you think I feel good that I've beat Mike Tyson by using things like save states? If you don't know what a save state is, you can punch Mike Tyson once and save your game, and then he knocks you down, you reload, you punch him again, you save your game, and you just get enough punches in by saving your game. Do you think I feel good about that? Do you think I feel accomplished? Even though I did, no, I don't know. I'm like, that's not real. That's maybe at the start. Yeah, it's like, oh, cool, I got to see the ending. Well, now every ending of every game's on YouTube. So you don't feel accomplished. You don't feel like you did something great. So when you think about this, think about your best students. Think about the ones that you want to reward the most. You want the system you create to give meaningful milestones. So what did I say I give to my best students? Like when someone accomplishes something grand, what do they get? What do they get in the system? And maybe I'll show you that ecosphere in the background right here. Let me get MuBot going. So here we go. Put a little SpongeBob 2 hours later up MuBot. We'll get to see him in his corporeal form here in a second. But what do I give my students who have grand accomplishments? And I ask them if they want this, and then they say, "Oh yeah!" Everyone's been like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah!" And some of them pick their name, some of them pick elsewise. But what do my students who get this grand accomplishment and have earned a great reward get? So there they are. And I told you the exponential growth. So here's the requirements. So you're actually seeing MuBot's brain right now. There's the exponential growth towards the end of the semester. They get naming rights. So you see pre-level, snail level, hamster level, MuBot level. New level just created is the Jolly and Morty fan club. So Jolly and Morty fan club right there. And these are points on their grade. I do not round grades. They get these bonus points and there's no rounding. And then we have the meme level, the joke level, we say, we have some people who come back as returning users. So we'll give our former students like 1 billion points as a joke for fun. And then there's ultimate Blake level. So Blake just named a level recently, but Tiny Brian level, he got, I forget who named it for him.
Tiny Brian.
Yeah, there we go. Tiny Brian announces all the cahoots for us, but we got MuBot level, we got tons of levels. And this extra recognition, so finding ways to reward the highest students in the class, giving them something, making them part of your class, because we've literally had Kayla come back into chats and people are like, "Whoa, is that Kayla? Whoa, Kayla level, I got to Kayla level." Like, and Kayla's like cracking up. So it really brings community to the students if you can find ways to, give them a reward. This isn't a grade reward. They're not getting anything other than super recognition like a sheet of paper, but it's a way I found that they become part of the game right there, and students get really excited about that. So, oops, wrong button. The brain is going to appear, is it? There we go. So you really need to think about ways right here, and we'll talk about this at the end, to make your course unique to you. So you got to see him, but you really didn't get to see him yet.
I am MuBot. I am Brian's bot for the class. Does anyone have questions for MuBot? MuBot must see questions to answer questions. Whoa. How's everyone doing today? I track all of Brian's points. Must have at least one question before advancing slide. I control the gamification. All questions are for MuBot. MuBot overheating from lack of questions. Does MuBot drink coffee? No, robots do not drink coffee. I am from Statistics Universe. That is how MuBot does. But Evil MuBot
is from Evil Universe. Evil MuBot must go away.
Eek. How were you created? Brian commissioned an artist to draw MuBot so that Brian would have unique art for his channel. Artist was not UTK student. Artist was someone Brian found on internet. Brian paid for commissioned art, and thus MuBot was created. Then Brian did color swaps and voice modulation in OBS so that it does a swap of pictures so it looks like MuBot is talking. That is how MuBot talks. MuBot out. So that's a little bit of...
And I'm using a voice changer right there via a GoXLR to do the voice change. But students like talking about MuBot. Yeah, so it's pretty fun, pretty cool. Students like the engagement of MuBot to, they'll say like, "Where is MuBot?" So MuBot as a thing is a chat bot that monitors the YouTube chat. Like, this is the entity of MuBot, and it has commands. We have a lot of cool commands like dog and cat and bunny. So there's a lot of fun chat, but there's a lot of serious chat. If you ever look at my chats, it's a lot of serious chat. But then students, we have one of our favorite commands is serious. We talk about put on serious face. So I'm like, okay, let's put on our serious face. I'll be like, I don't know. Sometimes I'll do it better than that. But we talk about put on serious face, and then MuBot will put a serious face in the chat. Like, he'll start spamming serious faces in the chat. And that's where, I'm trying to pull their attention. Like, some teachers, like in, classrooms with lower school students, will like raise their hand, and like you have to like be quiet and raise your hand. I've seen techniques like that. But my technique is, let's put on our serious face and be like, like that. So, and then they put serious in the chat, and it just becomes fun, and they become part of it, and it just shows they're paying attention. That's when I snap to doing more lecture than doing more fun. So usually there's a little bit of fun, and then there's the serious side of the class where we get engaged with the material. So re-image attack to beat the boss. This seems like to tie. Yes, yes, and probably one of the best formative assignment that rewards the process via the end result. Exactly. You need to go through. Thank you so much, Vice Provost Steele, right there. This is, I believe, a paper, Beat the Boss. This seems like to ties to Dr. Schaffin's session, formative assessment that rewards the process versus the end result. Exactly. Is you're part of this process. You're part of this game. You're playing the game. And so when you think about it, the process is to obtain goals. Are these your goals right here? Who has goals like this right here? Like when I think about my goals for students, first off, you got to get them to come to class, because watching it later is not going to be the best. Like it's just a recording. It's just asynchronous then. So if we wanted an asynchronous class, we wouldn't be doing this sort of game system. It'd be a totally different idea. And shout outs to people doing asynchronous. Oof, I do some asynchronous, and let me tell you, it's a bit more difficult. It's a bit more difficult. So number one goal, come to class. Number two goal, stay in class and be paying attention. So how do we achieve these goals? Well, what do I do at the start of class? I give you points for being early. We were throwing out some crazy points. I told my students I'd give them, we reached some bigger points later in the semester, but I told them I'd give them 10,000 points if we beat Alabama, but they had to come early to class. They have to be there 5 minutes early, logged in. I mean, just waiting for the class to start. We beat Alabama, so I dropped some major points, and students were super excited, and we're keeping good attendance. So what do you think I do at the end of class? At the end of class, stay till the end. I deleted the end right there. Stay till the end. At the end of class, I get points at the end of class. Now, the hundreds on assignments, shockingly, giving the stickers worked. Like I was shocked. So just reinforcing that behavior, even early on, getting hundreds. Because what I want students to know, I teach always, how can I incorporate some gamification? Yes, I would say look to their assignments and look to their engagement. William, thank you so much for saying that. So I would say look to their assignments, look to their engagement, and then give them points and show them the point system. And you could record it in your Excel gradebook and maybe update their score and give them a class score and tell them, say, like, here's the score you can get in a class. So it's not a grade, it's a score, and there's levels. So maybe put class level or come up with a name of it. We're going to be talking about how to make this more for you, but it really boils down to you. Well, maybe I'll jump to that because we're getting near the end. But all this right here is related to points and shout outs. And also, if you correct me, I think William was mentioning that too right there, I give huge bonus for all the corrections. So what I want you to think about right now, and this, William, is so related to you and everyone here, who are you? Can you name 3 things right now connected to you? Because whatever system you do has to be you. I'm a huge time gamer, but gamification isn't just about video games. It's about rewards and pushing people to stay engaged and stay motivated throughout the course of the course. It's not just at the end. This is based on the assumption that that students are only externally motivated. I wouldn't say they're just externally motivated. I think we need external motivation. I think that's where, the easiest students to teach, and great questions right there. Thank you so much. The easiest students to teach are going to be the ones who just do all the work, who come to class, do all the work, stay engaged, and are just on topic. Thank you so much, Sue, right there. But the challenges we have are when students want to disengage with the class. So I think we have to create the engagement. We have to focus on saying, you want to come to my class. We have to give them reason. Does that make sense? We have to get them excited about class. I want students to come back and say, I missed your class. I had a great time. I learned a bunch and I enjoyed being there. So I want to give them positive experiences, and I want them to get motivation from how the class is oriented, because in a lot of ways, I would like to motivate students with role-playing games. Yes, role-plays, games, and music. So thank you for this great presentation. Thank you so much. And do we have time afterwards? I know we end at 12:45. Asynchronous can be built into interactions. That could be a choose your adventure style activity. Great job. And Chris, great job. I think you're with the, is it nutrition, is it? I want to say that correctly, because I know you do some great stuff, especially with asynchronous. You are one of the pros at asynchronous from what I've seen. You give the online nutrition course, is that correct? I wonder about what happens when they leave your class and the rest of academic professors' careers look very different. It is interesting. It is interesting. Really good questions right there. I've had what I do is very unique. I'll say that. And the reason I did this is probably because of the student I am. So if you ask Brian who he is, Brian is a very passionate, very lively person who is very, I would say, focused on individuals. Students come first to me. But probably what I'm most, if I had to give you my one thing, is passionate. I want to be excited about stuff. I want to care. I probably care too much at times. It's like my greatest fault. When I hear that things are going bad for someone, it hits me. And when I hear that things are going great, I'm just very excited. So when I think about this, I want to communicate to my students that they should care about the class. And so when they get these rewards, it shows them, it shows them that they are earning things, they are making progress, and they're seeing it. So we need to be able to see the rewards. We need to make a clear system to the students. And it really boils down to you. Before we go to the last slide right here, how would people say they are? Like, what is you? What do you want your students to understand? Because everyone's going to be unique. Your class is going to be unique. Your class is going to have the elements that make you, you, and communicate that to your students. So what makes you, you? What do you want your students to experience and to understand and grow with their knowledge of the world? I want them with my class to say, maybe I should be on fire about something. Maybe I should, like, I want to do, like, I don't know, have grand ideas. I want them to be coached rather than taught. Yeah, exactly. You want to be like when we think about coaches in high school, so you want to be there to, they can come to you with questions and they're kind of leading their education. I would say many of my top students, which is an honor, have taught me so many things. They come to me with questions that I don't know the answer to. I can remember a student came to me and said, does R index at 1 or 0? And I said, index. And this is like a decade ago now. And I was like, oh, how do I not know that terminology in coding? It's a wonder I didn't know it. But that student right there has gone on to do amazing things. And I'm honored by his work. I was told that I have a perky personality, passionate about teaching. Some days I feel that they're the right in saying that. That's awesome. Yeah. So let students know that that's what you want them. I love to smile at students and encourage them to do the same. Exactly. I think the number one thing we always have to remember is that we teach courses, but we teach students. So when it comes down to it, it's better that we think about bringing them this positivity, because the material we're teaching them is just one aspect. So I incorporate all the positivity I can, all the good, all the happiness I can bring to them into my class. I guess, do we have time for questions? I know the session's ending, but if you're wondering more about this, there was a mention of OBS right here. So if you're wondering how I'm doing these things, like fading away or doing any sort of the transitions between screens, we'll be sending an email about the Teacher Academy via TEE. We'll be starting it in spring 23, where you can learn more about how to use some of this technology I use to incorporate into my online education. And we'll also be doing a presentation at the speed dating thing on the Thursday. Next session doesn't start until 1 p.m. Welcome to stay along for Q&A. Yes, that'd be great. Yes, and please email me. My email is bstevens@utk.edu. So please, if you have questions right now, drop it in the chat. And thank you for all the feedback right here. Feedback was really amazing and great comments. What questions are there? What questions are there? You're welcome. Thank you. I'm going to head over here to the main screen. We might end with an intro or an outro. What questions are there about anything we talked about today? The gamification, the kind of the focus on students. What are your questions? Let's see. I always love questions. I always want there to be at least 1 or 2 questions. Even what if Mubot drinks coffee? An easy place, and this is so great right there. So an easy place to start. So the easiest thing to start to do is to say, what is one thing I've done that works in the past? So think about something you've done, and then think about, how do I add to that? So everything I've built with my teaching has always been an experiment to say, here's what worked. Let me try to shift it a little bit or add on to it. So let's say you want to create a point system. So you devise a sheet that you put out to students at the start of the semester and say, here's the levels in the class, or you could call it whatever you want. You can make it towards your discipline, call it levels or bonus this or that. And then you just simply list out the levels and the points they get. I usually try to make it very generous. Like you can get over a point on your grade in my class to the top point getters. So then you think about what you want them to do. Do you want them attending things outside of class, extra credit? Do you want them looking into advanced things, extra credit? Do you want them getting hundreds on assignments? And then you think about the easier things for you to monitor. Especially with a lot of students, you have to be very careful because I've crafted some systems that require too much time on my side. So the easier it is to monitor, the better it is. And they have to think how often you're updating it. So as you craft this system, which will require some working around, think about a system that you can easily update, that can be easily communicated to students. Does that make sense? Craft a system that students can work through the semester to obtain some sort of bonus that you can make into a game that is towards your class, unique to that. Oh, I just spread off the screen. I teach mostly writing and creative subjects and rely a lot on ungrading. How might gamification work in that aspect? So what would you like your students to write there, William? I think, are you in, did you say languages? I might not be Spotlight anymore, Sue. So PR, public, is that public relations writing? It's public relations writing. So what are they generally writing with public relations? Tell me a little bit more about, I think probably
So
like,
they're
go
so
ahead.
they're
Yeah.
writing news releases. They're writing communication plans. They're writing content. It could be a lot of things, but it's all they do a lot of creating, even though
Yeah.
it's more it's business oriented, but it's still creative. It's not like you know we're not teaching a math or stats class where it's clear how we build from one section to the next. So, so it's a lot of it's very iterative. So we have a lot of going back and redoing work and resubmitting it um, and moving forward and trying to. One thing I do is I try to make the project something we build over time in the class. So there might be something we could do with that.
I think so, especially, would it help you if students turned in assignments early? Like, let's say you have an assignment due Thursday night. If students turned it in early, would that help you grade it, or if you have graders grade it?
Yeah, it might. It might. That's what I
So
never thought about
we
that.
often do that for Stat 201 is we have like an assignment due on Thursday, but we say if you turn it in Monday, you get like 3 points. So you might have, if the student turns it in early, they can get a bonus. And then as long as your grade book isn't too large, you could just find out who turned it in that night. Or you could say by 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning, so you don't have to like get up or be up late at night. And then you could find out who turned it in and then put like a 1 and give them the bonus for turning it in early. Or maybe you could do an extra review of it, but trying to think of the behaviors you want to reinforce, like okay, so if a student turns in early, they're going to have more time to look over it. They're going to ask more questions, where I think we all kind of know, when do students mostly work on assignments? I think we've all learned this. The most often time to work on assignment is like an hour or two before it's due. Have you seen that also?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so then you think, okay, if I get them to work on it 2 days before it's due, awesome. It's good to see you, Adam. So that right there, getting students to work early, which I should reinforce more in my upper level classes because we just had an assignment due on this weekend because we moved it. I was getting emails at like 10, 11 at night saying I can't get the assignment loaded, and that means they haven't started. So it's really tough to help. But if you give someone the bonus, the worst that happens is then they don't get the bonus because they try to start and they say, I have no idea how to write this. I'm really stuck. So you're going to get more students just trying to attempt the assignment. So I would say maybe focus your bonus on starting early. Maybe put like, the early bird bonus or something like that. Does that make sense? How does that sound with you? Like create like throughout the semester early bird bonus for assignments. And then to say, if you get 80% of the early bird bonus, you get like whatever points. So to be like, starting early, asking questions is the way to go, and you'll get more questions. Or you could do bonus for emailing you questions. Like if you email a question about this assignment, or do a discussion board. But I think we've maybe all seen if you give discussion board bonus, you get a lot of yes or hello or that's great. The comments are usually not that powerful. Are there games that cater to non-traditional students in asynchronous classes? That's a really good question, because that's a problem I've had too, is a lot of my, one of the critiques I've had is maybe it's, we have seen that females generally like it, but people have said maybe my style is more male focused. That's been a big critique I've heard, because video games, but my wife is a huge video gamer too. That's why we're married. And so I think as long as it's communicated well, a lot of people with like Candy Crush, gaming is something that extends throughout multiple generations these days. So even my mom is playing Wordle. So getting that reward of that daily, that fix of, yes, I got it right, I think really empowers people to feel positive about their experience. So I would say any sort of system you create, whatever system you create, the rules of the game need to be created. And calling it a game just means it's a system. So create the system before the class starts, clearly lay it out, and then make sure the rewards are incremental. Don't have the reward be at the end. That is, if you put the reward all the way at the end, as Vice Provost Steele was talking about with that paper, you don't want the reward to be way out here because that's too much of a long-term reward. You want the rewards to be incremental throughout the class to show them progress. And then also I put a lot of the reward buildups at the start, so you get a lot of rewards here to reinforce and to create that sort of like, okay, I'm earning through this system, and then you're part of the process of learning the class. So think about, and so that's a good thing right there. Is it Dr. Knowling? Is it? Let me try the doctor before everything. Thinking about how you can put a lot of the rewards at the start of the class. Any other last questions here? No, I really appreciate all these questions. +1, Brian, yeah! Extra credit right there. I'll end, let me ask the audience, we'll end with an outro right here. So, and thank you, one person said, you're welcome. Thank you so much, everyone. Really fun time today. So I've got 3 different outros that you can pick from. You can see my bunny, one of my bunnies, our bunnies, I should say. We could do the bunny outro, or we could do the opening to the semester outro, or we could do the shattered outro. So shattered, bunnies, or opening. Oh, you want the opening? Okay. So here's the fall preview to end everything right here. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.
From Other Dimensions has a somewhat looser feel to it.
Yeah, it's got an almost improvisational tone.
This semester on Stat 201, prepare yourself for YouTube, because we're all zoomed out. Cahoots and special guests, Tiny Brian, Puppet Shark, Evil Moobot,
I am Mubot.
Morty the Rabbit, and more. Super Statistics Bros.